Australia's banks have again been warned they can't expect any exemptions from tough new capital requirements, despite making it through the global financial crisis with only minimal damage. World banking regulators are in the process of finalising what's known as the Basel III recommendations, which are aimed at preventing a repeat of the public bailout of banks, what happened on a wide scale in the Northern Hemisphere. Andrew Robertson reports.
Australia's banks have been making no secret of their desire to be treated more leniently as regulators formulate tougher global capital standards. The banks argue they're in much better shape than their Northern Hemisphere peers, many of whom would have joined Lehman Brothers in oblivion without large-scale government investment. It's an argument that doesn't wash with Australian Prudential Regulation Authority boss Dr John Laker.
The days when the Australian banking system can operate in splendid isolation are long gone.
Dr Laker has just returned to Australia from Seoul in South Korea, where the committee putting together the new global capital requirements for banks has been meeting. He says if Australia's banks want to be global players, they'll have to abide by global rules.
Our largest banking institutions trade actively in global financial markets. They make use of global wholesale funding markets. They raise equity from global investors. These banks are global citizens, and investors and market analysts judge them accordingly. It is entirely appropriate, therefore, that they at least meet minimum global standards.
Dr Laker's comments were very timely as the fallout from the global financial crisis rumbled through Wall Street yet again. Shares in the United States' biggest bank fell more than 4% on reports it may be forced to spend nearly $50 billion buying back mortgage-backed bonds of questionable quality, which are at the heart of the global financial crisis. Other bank stocks were also sold off as Wall Street had its worst day in 2 months. The events of the last 24 hours in New York underscore the much freer regulatory environment in the US, which is very different to that in Australia.
Pursuit of the lowest common denominator has never been an objective for APRA. Our enduring objective must be a robust capital framework that protects the interests of Australian depositors and the stability of the Australian banking system.
Also speaking at the Financial Services Institute of Australia conference was the Deputy Head of the corporate regulator ASIC, Belinda Gibson, warning that the push for lighter regulation, which was a hallmark of the years leading up to the GFC, is now being rethought.
What we have learned, I think, is that disclosure alone is not a solution to overcome information asymmetries and the difficulties of conflicts of interest. Disclosure alone does not recognise the power of misaligned incentives and agency conflicts.
The Reserve Bank closely scrutinises data on the financial system provided by APRA. The RBA says the banks need to provide more information so regulators can get an accurate picture on what's really happening.
The raw data are provided by the financial institutions, and they also need to devote enough resources to ensure that they are reporting timely, accurate and meaningful data to APRA.
Banks will have plenty of time to prepare themselves for the tougher Basel III capital requirements. They don't begin coming into force till 2013.